Welcome back to Switch to Linux. So I don't have a front-facing camera today, but what I wanted to do is using my my work computer here is I wanted to go ahead and show you how I'm going to use open source software to generate a sales flyer. So we have this product line with one of my customers, and the objective here is we're going to be sending out a condensed version of this product sheet out to a variety of different cancer centers, I believe. And so what I want to do is I need to create the sales flyer that we're then going to print out, and then we are going to mail a copy of these out to all the different places. So I'm actually going to use GIMP to go ahead and create this sales flyer. So it's going to walk through the process as to how I start this. Now, some of the information is going to be different. This is our main flyer directly with the company that we're working with, and you can get these products, I think, in Walmart's, Target's, CVS, things like that. But what we're doing is we're selling just this line and just 5 SKUs of this to some cancer centers through an alternate provider, and so I need to pull our contact information off while keeping most of the rest of it there, but I also have a marketing blurb that's going to go up on the top. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to open up GIMP, and I'm going to open up a new file. Now, anytime that you are producing something for a printout, you want to make sure that you have a higher resolution. So we actually want 300 DPI resolution for anything that we're printing out. And what we're going to do now is, let's see, our width is going to be 11, our height is going to be 8.5, and note that I did that in inches. So basically we are printing out on an 8.5 by 11. We're printing out printing out our flyer and kind of doing 2 per 1 copy. So the first thing actually I'm going to do is I'm going to open as a layer my original flyer, which is this one here, and we're going to go ahead and import it. And I actually want this as a larger size, so I'm going to come over to my layer and I'm going to scale the layer and making sure I still have those. My height should be 8.5 inches. Make sure that this link is closed because that's going to auto scale the size. So scaling that up, now we have this of the appropriate size. So we'll start by kind of moving this around. One of the things that I want, and GIMP doesn't do this by default, is under my view, I want snap to canvas edge available. This will allow me to easily snap this a little bit better. And let's go ahead and duplicate this layer. My move, and then we're going to go ahead and this one as well. So kind of what I'm working on here is I'm trying to get the best size to scale this out. So I pretty much have two flyers here. I'm going to verify the size there. Okay. It just kind of seems weird to me that it should seem like it's a little bit bigger, but that's quite all right. What I'll end up doing is I'll probably condense it down. In fact, let's go ahead and just delete this layer here. And I'm going to scale this one down even further. So let's give me a layer, scale layer, and let's go with a height of, let's go with 7.5. See what that gets us. So you can see that we actually have the print, the margin prints there. I'm actually going to go ahead and use the margin prints to my advantage. And it kind of looks like what I am going to want to do is I'm going to want to adjust the height of these a little bit. That's perfectly okay. Maybe in fact what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and skew it, which is quite okay because my images are going to change. Pretty much everything about this is going to change. So we're going to grab a item here. Let's see. So 0, 11, so that's what, 5.5 inches I think we need. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so 2, 4, and 5. So there's my actual halfway point. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this guy here. I'm going to use this as my scale marker there. Okay, so scale that. Now we're going to go ahead and duplicate this layer. And that should snap appropriately. All right, so that's kind of what my basic sheet's going to look like. Now I'm going to hold my control button and roll the mouse wheel to kind of get my my wheels where I want. So what I'm actually going to want now is I'm going to keep the blue items. Now I'm probably going to move them around though, because we have a marketing blurb that's going to go on the top of this, and I'd kind of like the product sheet information out the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and delete part of this. In fact, let's just go ahead and delete the top row of products here. Go ahead and make sure I grab my my correct side there. So let's go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to grab my selection tool here. I'm just going to go ahead and select this. All the way across. Now with that selected, what I'm going to do is come over to my gradients. I'm going to grab a foreground to background. I can just kind of do a color to color gradient. Let's go ahead and grab a foreground to background gradient, RGB. So then this is going to take my foreground and my background color. So I'm going to select my first color. It's going to grab the green that's just on this far end, push OK. And then I'm going to grab my background and do the same with the green over on the far end over here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my gradient tool over here. And holding your control is going to give you a snap. And there, now we have a very nice gradient on top of this. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to undo that. I'm actually going to add that to a new layer. Let's go ahead and hit new layer, push OK, width, height, basically the whole size, that's fine. Now we're going to go ahead and drop the gradient over here. Again, holding my control. That way we get one layer. So here you can see what this looks like. So that is a near duplicate. There's a slight bit difference just in how the gradient works. If I'm seriously concerned about that, I can actually double click the gradient and make some adjustments to it. In this case, I don't care. That's not a significant enough change to merit the extra time. Sometimes that's what this boils down to is do I have the time to do everything I want to do? So let's go ahead and grab a, let's see, in fact, I'm going to do this on top of that same layer. We're going to go ahead and hold Shift, Control, and A will deselect, and now we're going to come up and we're going to select the blue box. Of course, this one's easier because it's just a solid color. So we're going to go ahead and select that, grab my foreground color from this here. In this case, I just want the paint bucket on my new layer. Click my paint bucket item there. There we are. So there's layer on, layer off, layer on, layer off. Okay, so there's what we have there. I'm going to go to, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and keep that one there. That's fine. So now we're going to duplicate the same process down on this box down here. And I am going to bump this up 1 pixel. There we are. Make sure we're on the correct layer. Once again, grab my bucket dump. And there we are. So now on one layer I have that there. Now let's go ahead and add the text to this layer as well. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make that just 50% transparent for now, just so I can get information over here. Now, what we're going to do is I don't want to match the text exactly in this case because we have condensed it down so much. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to find a text that's similar. In fact, here's what I can do. I'm going to go ahead and grab my non-working layer, the one on the right, and I'm going to go ahead and I think I want to go ahead and click on this guy here and does not intersect with the layer. Yep. No, okay. Got to deselect everything first. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of stretch it out just to the point to where everything's kind of back how it normally was. And I'm going to do this literally to match my fonts a little bit. Looks like something like an Open Sans might do that. So we're going to come over here, grab my color, just grab a white font on my color. I'm going to try Open Sans on this. Do I have Open Sans on this computer? I do not have Open Sans on this computer. Let's see, what else might I have? Let's try Arial. Okay, Arial, and let's go ahead and make this. Let's try a 50. Actually, it's going to be bigger than this. I know it's going to be a lot bigger than this. 200 might work for the font. It might be closer to 200, simply because of how high the resolution is. Okay. So it's definitely not 200. Oop. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's try cutting that. Let's try 75. We're getting closer. Maybe it's closer to 50. Okay. That's fine. So what you're going to notice here, if you're looking at the fonts, if you get used to fonts, you'll find that you can get pretty good at them, but notice that they're not the same. The R here is straight up and down here, but it's at an angle on Arial. So Arial's not the exact font we need, but it's definitely going to be close enough to what we need. So again, we're just trying to get a good quality copy here. We're not trying to exactly 100% duplicate everything on this small level. Okay, so that's about the size we want. So we're going to go ahead and drag this guy over here. Now, when you're using the Move tool in GIMP, the default is you would have to be right over top of it. So if you are looking at the cursor, you'll see how the cursor will change when we're on top of it. The other thing you can do, though, is you can hold Shift, and it's always going to move the selected layer if you do that. So here we're going to come up here, and I'm going to come over here and just do my product cell sheet like this. I'm just going to hold Shift again, center that. In fact, one of the things that I do want to do here is we're going to reselect our text, and we're going to go ahead and center it in that manner there. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of height. Basically, I could probably, that's probably good there, just doing that with it. Okay. So I don't like how much extra space there is. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use the tools over here to increase the height difference, about split the difference about 50-50. There we are. All right, so there is a nice product sheet there. So that's looking good. Let's come down to this layer here, throw our opacity back up to 100%. So now that's what we look like. Okay, now I'm going to move this layer up. I'm going to kind of lock these layers together like this. I don't want them to be, I don't want to merge the layers because he might come back and say, can you decrease the font 5%? And I don't want to have to recreate the font if if he asks for that. Let's go ahead and cut the layer back down a little bit. So we're going to come over here and repeat this again. This should probably be, let's see, I think we use 60 over there. We're going to go ahead and use 50 over here. Okay. And, let's go ahead and go into our character map. I don't remember where my registered trademark is. So we're going to grab my font. Use my Arial font and noticing that my character map is not nearly as good on there we are. That's what I want. Find my common, copy that, and paste that up there. I think I hit shift, not... Undo that. Okay, so there's that, and it does look like I need to drop this down a little bit more, so we're going to go ahead and drop the font text. Let's try 35. That actually looks pretty good, and then of course we're going to take our trademark copy down to, let's try 20. So that'll work. So that's good for Queasy Pops. We're going to repeat that for Queasy Drops. And we're going to bring this back up a little bit like that. Okay, so now we have our product lines there. We're going to come back to this layer here, and we're going to do that. Okay, so now we're going to add that to my lock layer. So what your lock layer is allowing you to do is now when I move something is they will all move together like that. Okay. And I don't want to move them quite yet. I will move them eventually. I just don't want to move them quite yet. Now we're going to come over here, grab this, and I'm actually going to reduplicate this text as well. The objective is the original flyer is going to be completely deleted. This is the same thing if you watched me do the book cover designs. It's kind of the same principle I did. Let me come over here. We're going to reset that so I'm not selecting 200 font every time. I'm going to go with 75 this time. And let's see if I do not have an Arial thin, so we're going to go ahead and make the adjustments another way. Okay, we're going to go ahead and grab, I don't want black, I want, like that's close enough. Let's do 3s. Okay. Oop. I gotta do it over here. I did not reset the color right. make sure we spell right. Natural way to ease a queasy stomach. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now the first thing we want to do is we're going to select all of the text and we're going to drop the font size. Let's try 50. So 50 is a little smaller than I'd like it to be. Let's go with 55. And then what we're going to do is we want to condense the characters in a little bit. So I don't like the color. It's actually not quite the color I think I want. So let's go with, let's see, ones are going to get closer. Let's do 5s. That should bring us closer to our color. So there you go. I like that color a little better, a bit better there. Okay. All right, so that will work for me now. Actually, let's go slightly smaller. Let's go with 50. It's trying to make it so it'll sit nice and snug inside of this guy here. So that looks like it's pretty good. So now we're going to grab this part of the flyer. We're going to delete this. All right. So now I'm going to grab the text here, and I'm going to snug that kind of where I want it to be. Let's go ahead and line it up with this part of the products line there. And now we're going to go ahead and lock that. So now I have 4 locking layers inside that. Now I can actually come up here and create a folder. So I'll call the layer group, let's do flyer top. And then what I'll do is I will set everything inside of flyer top. So that way I can actually condense it down. I can show and hide the whole thing nice and easy like that. All right, so now let's have a look at our pictures. So I actually have a series of pictures we're going to use, and I dropped them right on my desktop. Usually I would just minimize it by going to the bottom corner of the desktop there, but in this case I'm just going to go ahead and grab this. So this is products. I thought I unzipped this already. Did I? Does not look like I did. Let's go ahead and extract that. Okay, let's go ahead and show the files. So went ahead and unzipped all of my files here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, actually before we put the images on, let's go ahead and do the bottom of the flyer now as well. Let me go ahead and, I'm just going to delete this one. That's one I don't need. Okay, so here we're going to go ahead and repeat the way that we did our boxes on the bottom. Let's go ahead and create a new flyer group here. We'll call this flyer bottom down here, and then we're going to grab my selection tools. Again, I'm going to zoom in as much as I can. Just it's going to prevent me from coming back and forth and doing my colors and gradients again. So that way we can do that. Once again, remember we're going to grab my colors from, in fact, I think this is just this color, and this should not have changed. Grabbing our foreground to background, grabbing my gradient tool, and we're going to go ahead and create a new layer. Okay, called bottom highlight. Again, holding shift to make sure I have a nice consistent system there. So there's that. Let's go ahead and grab our key highlights. And we're going to go back to our 5s text. Arial, we'll do 75, see how that looks. And I want to go back down to 55 on this. See how that looks. Good. All right. Okay, so all that worked there. We're going to go ahead and grab a new layer, and I'm going to call this recommend list. Go ahead and do 35 on these. I'm pretty sure will work. Natural and drug-free. Do I want to do that bullet point in front of it? Let's see. See if there's anything exciting. I'd like to see one of these pointing the other way. Oh, there it is. Alright, so we're going to come back over here, and I'm going to spruce it up. Instead of using that bullet there, I'm going to go ahead and use this bullet point here. Again, though, we want to cut this down to 30. And let's, in fact, go 25. And we're going to... Oop, not that. Bump it up to the center, right there. Okay, so there's drug-free. We're going to do... paste... doctor recommended. Again, let's grab my 20, what was that, 35? I think that was 35, right? Except for this was 25. And that part, okay. Okay, so now we have that. We are going to align this one to the left, and then let's go ahead and increase their spacing a little bit just so that it looks a little bit closer to the original. Okay, there we are. I kind of want to increase the font size a little bit on these. So I was liking 35 at first, but let's try 40 on this. I'm going to keep the kind of caret the same. Good. All right, so now we're going to hide the bottom part there. We're going to grab my sales flyer part, and I'm actually going to delete that from the sales flyer and now redisplay the bottom. Okay, now I'm seeing that I want to add a space to these. Make them look a little bit less cramped. So that looks much better. Okay, so now zoom back out. We're going to come back over here and we're going to go ahead and create a new layer there. We're going to call this develop box. And as you guessed it, we're doing the same thing. We're just going to duplicate the flyer like this. And grab the gray color. Grab our bucket. And there we are. Let's go slightly bigger. I did 40 on the key list there, so let's go ahead and do 45, and let's use my fives text again here for my developed by a team of healthcare professionals. So notice though that this text is slightly lighter, so I'm actually going to lighten this up a little bit. I don't want to use, let's see, fives. Let's go back down to the threes. See, of course that's going to make it darker, isn't it? Huh, yes, that's going to make it darker. Duh. Let's go to nines. And I want to make these italics like this. So you'll see that that's slightly too dark or too light. All right, so let's go. I've done fives, I've done nines. Let's do sevens. That'll split the difference of the two colors we've been using. Perfect. So now we're going to grab this. I'm just going to kind of center it over there and then bring that back online. Actually, I don't kind of like it there. I would rather like to make sure it's kind of centered in that box. In fact, the best way to center it inside that box, we're going to grab our centering tool. Let's deselect everything, grab the first layer we want to center to. It's grabbing the wrong layer. I'm not sure why it's doing that. I'm looking at the little gray boxes down here at the bottom. So, you know what? I think, if I remember correctly, GIMP does not like these guys done inside of folders. So I'm going to pull them outside the folders. I have actually not encountered this problem before. It seems to be, for whatever reason, it seems to not be taking my my box layer there when as I'm doing this. So there's my box layer. Yeah, I've actually not encountered that problem before. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get these guys aligned. Let me no, undo that. Oh, I know the problem. Duh. The reason it wasn't working, what I was trying to do is grab this guy here and grabbing the box. It was grabbing the right box, but the problem is that the layer itself is the size of the whole image. So to actually make that thing work, what I'd have to do is auto crop the layers. So auto cropping the dev box, now that layer is there, and then grabbing the develop by and auto crop that layer as well. Now I can use my centering tool. This is going to allow me to select the first layer, then the second layer, and it will allow me to center them to each other. It's like, I figured there was something a little goofy up there. Alright, so those guys are nice and centered. Let's go ahead and do that. Set this right up here. And now we're going to go ahead and lock all of these layers together as well. So that's going to lock, again, all of these layers that I just hid. Alright, so there's my flyer bottom. Let's go ahead and do, I'm going to create a new folder. No, not inside flyer bottom. create a new layer group. I'm going to call this layer group address. And inside of address, I'm going to add our logo, and then we're going to do another text with the information. And I actually don't have the information yet for the representative. As far as our logo, I'm just going to go ahead and grab the logo directly from our store website because I don't have it on this particular computer. So go ahead and load up our website there and steal the logo off of that. Okay. File, open as a layer. Logo, open. And it's a little bit small. Let's go ahead and scale the layer. Let's do 0.250. See how that looks? That looks much better. Put this over place, and I'm trying to think if I want. No, I'm not going to bother with the registered trademark on that one. All right, we're going to go ahead and close that out. And what we're going to do here is delete this information from the flyer now. So we have that, and then we're going to grab my I'm just going to leave that placeholder right there, and I'll go ahead and add that in when I have it. So the next thing we need to do is we need to start looking at our products. So let's go ahead and create a new folder for that. Okay, so the information we want to retain, we want the case dimensions, the case weight, the numbers, the pieces. We do not want the price, the UPC code, and the item number is going to change. So what I'm going to do is delete these items here, which of course I have to select the proper layer to do that. And then I need to change the item number as well. In fact, what I'm probably actually going to do is just put these items here, use my blank space, and put my number, because our distributor has different product SKUs for the individual products. So now I'm going to figure out the best way to get 5 products on this thing. So let's go ahead and add the first product as a layer. Let's see, what's the first product there? I think it's this one. Okay, so it's asked me because the color profile is different. I'm just going to go ahead and convert the color profile. Let's go ahead and scale the layer to something sane. Okay, still not exactly the size we want, but definitely sane. Scale layer again. Let's do 1.5 inch. So there you go. That's not too bad. Gonna have a look at all of these pictures. Are they pretty consistent? They're pretty consistent. One of the things I'm going to want to do is make sure that each one of these images is about the correct size. So under layer again, let's go with 1.25. Trying to think if I want to run a whole, just one row on the bottom, or if I want to run a 2 and then a 3. I think, let's see, being as I have marketing blurb to do and another letter and return address at the top, I think what we're actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and decrease the size even more. I don't know if 1 inch, 1 inch is too small. Let's do 1.125. So I got to figure that's going to be pretty small on the paper as it is. So that's actually something I want to keep in mind. Do I want to increase the size of some of my text because of how small it is? So I think what I actually might want to do is I might want to run a row of 3 and then a row of 2 to balance them out. But let's go ahead and let's undo that last size change. Have a look at our layer size. 1.25. Let's go ahead and undo that change. I should be at a 1.5 now. So it's 1.5, so that's good. Okay, so now with each one of these images, and what we'll do is I'm just going to do one of these images and then just realize I'm going to duplicate the same process 5 times. So we're going to take one of these images, and I just got to remember exactly how I'm putting my stroke around it. This is one of the areas where GIMP does not have the layer properties. Krita does. I can actually take these images, open them all up in Krita, and add the layer properties to them and import them over. That actually might be a better way to do it. The way I'm thinking of what I can do now is I can come into my drop shadow, and what I will do is I need to grab the blue color, which is probably this blue. I'm just looking for that blue border. And I'm going to do let's do 100% opacity. And we want to make this as condensed as possible. And I just have to remember exactly the direction I wanted to run that. That wasn't it. Okay, so you'll see it gave me just a little bit there, but that's not exactly the one that I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all those drop shadows. I'm just going to keep on playing with this until I get this the way I want it to look. Let's go 5, 5, and 5. So that's not bad there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here. I'm going to do -5, 5, and 5. Because these guys are how many pixels down, how many pixels is over. And so by duplicating that, you'll see I'll get an effect that is effectively like doing a drop shadow. We do get a little bit over there. There is another, probably a better way to do this. In fact, there is a better way to do this. Let's not do it that way. That's too hack based. Let's go ahead and delete that layer. We're just going to delete the drop shadows. I don't even know why I didn't think of this to begin with. But if we grab this guy here, and we're going to select the whole thing. Okay, so now I'm just going to grab this guy here and go down just a couple pixels. So there's 1, 2, and 3 pixels down. 2 and 3 pixels this way. We're just going to grab 3 pixels on each side. Grab this guy here, go up 1, 2, and 3 pixels, and then over here, three pixels there. Well, that looks like 4 pixels. 2 and 3 pixels. Whoop. Okay, so now with that, we're going to create a new layer. And with what I have selected there, boom. That's the better way to do it. Okay, so now what I'm just going to do is lock the layer to the box. So if that's too much, I can shave a layer out. If I need more, I can add the increase to the layer. I'm just going to leave that there, and then eventually then what we're going to do is cut this out. So I can actually duplicate this box, duplicating this box, and then I'll be able to put the other images on top of it. So we're going to start with one of these guys, we're going to that's what I was like, what's it doing? It got dropped. Oh, it got locked inside of my my front end box there. Okay. Let's go ahead and grab my flyer top. I'm going to unchain these guys. Okay, close my address. My image got moved outside of my box. There we are. Okay. So now I should be able to there we are. Now I have freedom to move those guys around there. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add my text down here. So we're going to grab my text. Let's go back to our darker. I think I want to use the 3s on this one. And probably on this, I think 25 is probably going to be what I want to run. So let's do Queasy drops plus. So that's a little too small for me. So we're going to go up to 35, I think. Let's go with 40. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, so I liked, what did I use on that? I used 40 on that. We're going to grab my default of 40. Okay. Product SKU, and then actually I think the product SKU, it's related to this number. There's more to it than this number, but I'm going to come in here when I'm done recording the video and fix the product SKUs, whatever those happen to be. All right. And then I want to grab the images here. I'm trying to think what else I want to do as far as, so 21 lozenges. Okay, let's go ahead and just, in fact, better way to do this. You always get better ways of doing things as you're running through. Cut this. Okay, so now we have all of these. Now we're just going to create one of these, center everything like that, and that way we only have one line for each of these to do. Delete you. Okay, so now we can get rid of that. So this is kind of what our flyer is going to look like. I'm still concerned that I'm not going to have enough room to have all of the information here. So what I'm actually going to do, I think, is let's come into our footer and we're going to condense some space down into our flyer bottom. Okay, so we're going to start with the start with our box here, move that down to the bottom, and then grab our text. Okay. And then grab, let's see, bottom height is this one. I want this locked with my key height. And I know that our distributor contact information is actually going to be quite a bit smaller. So I can actually condense this down quite a bit. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I kind of like where that is. So now we're going to unlock those. Recommended list. Condense this down a little bit more. Oop, I accidentally pulled my box out of there. I thought I had that locked. Apparently I did not. I'll have to get that back in a minute. I forget off the top. What I always do is I always lock these to my box so I don't accidentally do that. That's one of the challenges that you have, is that it does not. It's kind of hard to actually relock stuff back onto our tab there. That's actually why I always lock them down the first time. Let's see. No, it's actually a royal pain. Okay, we'll deal with that in a minute. That's the best way to do it. Okay. Add tab, tool options. Lock. There we are. Now we're locked. Okay. Okay. Bring our key items down here. Gonna highlight this and this again. Drag this down to the bottom. Okay, so that condenses that down. Now let's grab logo. Center that there, and distributor contact information. Set that down there somewhere. All right, so now that buys me quite a bit more room. Here's my text again, and let's see. I want to see if everything else is unlocked from each other at this point in time. And here's our text. I'm trying to think if I want to have this, if this is a good size for that or not. Let's try 45. 45 might be a little bit better. I'm just trying to make sure that, you know, as these are printed in half sizes, that they're going to be appropriately sized. Okay, now let's see. Does that have enough room in there, or do I want to... I'm still wondering if I'm going to have room for those, so I might actually need to decrease these in size still a little bit more. Let's go 35. Okay, auto-cropping the layer is going to get the layer down to the appropriate size. So if you saw there, the layer was quite a bit bigger. Let's do 1.350. Okay, so that's good there. I can work with this. All right, so now we'll have... I guess we'll still have 3 layers. I'm still going to have to sit here and determine exactly how I want to have 5 products on here of these sizes with this information. But that gives you the general idea. And then, of course, once we have this, then I'm just going to duplicate my my layers. Pretty much take a copy of it over here, put it over here. It's going to be an exact duplicate of each other. So that is the beginnings. Like I said, I'm going to spend probably another hour or so working on this when the camera is done. But that is exactly how I would build a sales flyer for an individual product using free and open source software. So again, it boils down to that question of what is the task I want to accomplish and what tool can I use to accomplish it? I don't have to have Photoshop. If I have to have a flyer, what tools are there? You could use GIMP like we're doing here. You could use Inkscape, works as well. So there's a lot of different things. So hopefully this helped you out in understanding how you might put together some application like this to help you along in what you're doing. And this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. You know, build flyers, and mostly I build websites, but you know, flyers, websites, things like that. I am going to, once I'm going to print out a proof of this, I might adjust the sizes, make sure we're not too close to margins, things like that. You always have to be aware of margins when you're printing. So we're going to do stuff like that here when I'm done with this. But like I said, I just want to get a video out here to show you how you can use GIMP to do real world applications inside of open free source Linux. So thanks for watching. If you'd like to help support the channel, check out switchtolinux.com/support. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.